Christian philosophers and theologians have basically given two distinct answers to this question down through the centuries. The first answer goes back to the 4th century and a thinker named St. Augustine. Augustine said that God could have made a world with no pain or suffering, but to do it he would have had to eliminate human free will. In other words, to make creatures like us who are truly morally free, God had to allow the real possibility that many of us, or even all of us, would choose to do bad things. And history shows that every generation of humans has made that wrong choice and perpetrated great evil on each other. So God did not create evil. We free creatures did. And even God could not entirely eliminate evil without taking away our free will. There's also a second answer. This answer goes back even further in history to a man named Irenaeus, who lived just shortly after the time of Christ. Irenaeus said that God was in the business of making mature souls. God was not just interested in creating morally free creatures, but he wanted those humans to be able to grow and develop by facing difficult moral choices. And a world that contained a pretty high level of evil and suffering was essential to produce the highest levels of moral development. Now, even in a world that was mostly good, we could likely practice traits like kindness, respect, or generosity. However, qualities such as courage, endurance, compassion, and most of all, sacrificial love, could only be developed in a world filled with pain and evil.
Well, I was a practicing atheist for nearly 20 years of my life. And as a lawyer, businessman, I focused everything on materialism, secular success. I had no time for emotional things, spiritual things, and I liked it that way. There was nothing that was going to get in the way of that. And unknown to me, during those 20 years, my precious mom constantly prayed for me. And she was praying that anything would reach me, anything would reveal God to me. And it was in late 1999, actually, that my mom found herself in a battle with cancer. And at that time, I was actually helping her out and attending oncology appointments with her. And there was one oncology appointment where in one instant, I actually had my atheism just shattered. It was just one instant of pain and just seeing her pain, that the reality of life and the truth of God was just there before me. I didn't know who this God was, and I didn't know how to reach him. But I knew he was there at that point in time. And I started praying. Didn't know who I was praying to, but I started praying for Mom and her painful trial. And at that time, my heart started opening up to also look at the claims of Jesus Christ and the claims of the Bible. And I was absolutely stunned by the evidence. And in Mother's Day 2000, I gave my life to Jesus, and it was that day that my mom's 20 years of patient prayer, they were answered. And it was also that day where her battle with cancer, her painful trial, it was given meaning. And I think when you look at why does a loving God allow bad things to happen to good people, I think my mom actually summed it up best in one of her last journal entries before she died, and I'd love to read that if I could. She said, God does answer prayers in mysterious ways, and does answer a mother's most fervent prayers for the soul of her beloved son. What a grand purpose for my cancer. I agree with Paul in Romans 8, for I consider that the sufferings of this present age are not worthy to be compared with the glory that shall be revealed in us. And I know in my heart that, like Christ, my mom suffered and died for me. And as hard as that was for me to understand and comprehend, I now view it through more eternal goggles. And I now see meaning and purpose and hope in my life. And I made the best decision I ever could have.
For almost as long as I can remember, I've believed in Jesus Christ as my Savior. I was raised by loving, godly parents who've always supported and encouraged me. And I've been very fortunate. But it hasn't always been an easy road following Jesus. I've asked the question why many times. I was abused as a child by a relative, and there was a time when I was hurting so much inside that I wanted to end my life. I questioned God's love for me and even his very existence. But the amazing thing is, my faithlessness did not change his faithfulness. God promises to never leave us or forsake us. And the hope I have is that despite whatever circumstances may be affecting my life, they don't change the reality, nor the steadiness, nor the strength of his love for me, or his purposes for my life. One of the reasons I struggle so much, and still do at times, is because I can only see what's right in front of me. I can only see the short-term pain, and God, he sees the long-term, and the joy that lies ahead for those who believe in him. Nothing is purposeless in the hands of the Lord. Our pain is not wasted, and his love never fails. One of my favorite verses is, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares future. And that's why I hope.